First story is titled, Am I the a-hole for saying how I'd choose my adoptive family over my biological one any day? When I was born, my biological family gave me up for adoption as they had no desire to be a mother and a father to me. I don't have any memory of them. And even though I've never met them in person or got to know them, I've still despised them for giving me up so easily. I grew up in an orphanage, and the children there would constantly harass and ridicule me, and it wasn't very pleasant. It took a while to find an adoptive family for me, as most people in my country prefer adopting newborn children instead of a grown-up. I was losing hope, and I've started to think that nobody would take me in, and I'd stay there forever. However, a very lovely couple met me while I was in the orphanage and seemed to like me, and I've liked them back. They were honestly so kind to me and praised me for my art that I've drew. It didn't take long for them until they finally decided they'd adopt me, and it was the happiest moment in my life. I was so glad to be part of their family. About a week ago, I've got a call from my adoptive mother saying that she had just got contacted by people who claimed to be my biological mother and father, and that they'd like to meet up with me sometime, and I've agreed. Once I've met up with them, we're talking about general stuff, but then it began to turn really awkward as they were ignoring some personal questions I've asked them. Later, they started speaking about my adoptive family. They said how they've seemed like boring people and asked me how I could even stand to be in the same room as them for a minute. My biological mother criticized the way my adoptive mother dressed, and my biological father said how my adoptive father seemed like someone I'd be ashamed to be related to, and that I'm lucky I'm actually not. The second they've said that, I've lost it. I told them that I'd choose my adoptive family over them any day and that they were cruel and horrible people who do not have the authority to say anything about them because they were the people who saw me as a burden and got rid of me. My biological mother was crying and my biological father was silent, but I couldn't care less. I put on my jacket, got out of the shop and called my adoptive father to come get me. I think I'm in the right here, but a part of me is saying that I'm the a-hole in this situation. So Reddit, am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not an a-hole. They should be grateful that you are loved and taken care of. Not an a-hole. They're complaining about the pettiest of things. OP's adoptive family were there in his life when he needed them. His bio parents came in when the hard work had been done and have the hall to be insulting. He made the right decision. Not an a-hole. They decided after abandoning you they get the right to ask to meet you, ignore your questions, and insult the people who have cared for you? Screw your bio parents. They're actually the worst. They were given an opportunity to reconnect with you and they spat on it by insulting your real parents. You did the right thing putting them in their place. Not the a-hole, not even a little bit. Your birth parents, however, are absolutely the a-holes. Insulting your adoptive, real supportive parents was a manipulative power move and in no way acceptable. Good for you for standing up for them. You're a damn good person. Not an a-hole. People give children up for lots of reasons, and I wouldn't fault them for choosing to give you up when they couldn't take care of you themselves. But your bio parents get no sympathy from me. Not because they gave you up, but because of how they spoke about the people who took you in. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for threatening a restraining order against my daughter's mother? Okay, so some background information. My 23 male, daughter's mother, 22 female, let's call her Emily, got pregnant when she was 16, I was 17. Emily was very against abortion, so despite me telling her I was not ready to be a father, she was adamant to keep it and give it up for adoption, which is also what her parents, who were furious at me, wanted her to do. I was not okay with this at all. Having grown up in the foster system myself, I did not want my kid to go through the same thing. Eventually, we decided that she would give birth and then relinquish full custody to me, who would raise the baby, despite my prior hesitation. Fast forward to current day, our daughter, Rose, has started school, although this year has been a mess with school, and I live with my boyfriend, Adam, 24 male. I love them both to the ends of the world, and I'm very happy with our little family. We are also in government support payments since we don't make a lot of money. Now on to the actual issue. A couple of months ago, I received a Facebook message from Emily. She said she wanted to check in and see how Rose was doing. I found this a bit odd, since she hadn't shown any interest in her at all, but I obliged and told her that she was doing well and was happy. She then started sending me more messages over the next few weeks asking questions about Rose, like where she went to school, how she behaved, etc. I didn't tell her the school she attends, since I was starting to get suspicious that she had an ulterior motive, and my suspicions were confirmed when she asked to come visit her. I said no, because I felt that Emily didn't truly care about Rose, and I don't trust her around my kid. I had already decided that if Rose wanted to meet her when she was old enough, that would be fine, but not when she was so young. Anyway, Emily got really angry when I said no, saying that it was her child and she had a right to see her. She started saying that I was a horrible father, abusive, and that I was forcing our daughter to only have male paternal figures and that it would damage her. I eventually blocked her, but that only made it worse when 2 days ago, she showed up at our unit, unannounced, and demanded to be let in and see Rose. I wasn't home, but Adam was there with our daughter, and he told her to leave or he would call the cops. When he told me what happened, I was freaked out, since I don't know how she found our address, and I feel really anxious. Emily then sent me more messages from a new Facebook account, and I told her that if she didn't stop, I would seek a restraining order against her. This is where I'm wondering if I'm overreacting about this whole issue. My boyfriend agrees with me and so does his family, but some of our friends are saying that I'm just being paranoid, and that it's just my anxiety and that threatening her with a restraining order is too harsh. But I don't understand why Emily is so interested all of a sudden, and it makes me uneasy. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Why now? Because 5 years old are way less work than infants/toddlers. She isn't interested in being a parent, because if she were, she'd be taking the legal route. She wants to get involved now for the fun stuff. Her behavior appears unstable and you have a family to protect. Get the restraining order. Exactly this. There is a reason she isn't going through the legal system. She wants to be in the daughter's life for the fun parts and then give her back when things get hard. She doesn't want the law saying she's responsible for taking care of this child. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. Protect you and your family. Someone who wants a healthy relationship doesn't go about it in such an unhealthy way. She found your address without you giving it to her. To me, that's grounds enough to start the legal process of getting a restraining order. Make sure all legal paperwork regarding custody is in order, though. If the two of you didn't legally fill out the paperwork when Rose was born, it may give Emily more of a leg to stand on. Good luck, Opie. Not the a-hole. Threatening a restraining order is not too harsh. Actually, getting a restraining order is not too harsh either. You were not paranoid. She actually showed up at your house. It was fine for her to check in her daughter's health and see how she was doing, even ask if she could meet her. It was also fine for you to decline. She gave up her parental rights. You were on exactly the right track. When your daughter is old enough and wants to meet her mother, a meeting can be arranged then. Get the restraining order immediately. If you haven't already, save every message and communication you guys have had since you first reached out. The next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for not wanting to pay an exact replacement for something I broke again? Hello. I, male 20, feel justified in my response, but my dad does not. My younger brother and my mother are backing me up. Our home has black carpeting. It is very difficult to see black items on it, and that has always been the case. My father's glasses are black. He has an awful habit of leaving them on the ground, where they are frequently stepped on. I've broken them 5 times already. My mother 3 times. My brother about 7 or 8. My father a couple of times. They've also been broken by a friend of mine who came to visit, and once one of my brother's friends. They're always on the ground. He leaves them at most random of places. Until today, I got off the couch and there was a cracking sound. I looked down, and it's my dad's glasses. Again. So I pick them up and let him know. He looks at them, and he reckons that they're too broken to be fixed this time around, and asks me to pay for replacement. I'm refusing. Firstly, I don't have the income for buying an exact replacement. His frames were on the expensive side. Secondly, and more importantly, although I'm the one who broke them, I think it is his responsibility. At some point, to me, if your glasses keep getting broken because you leave them on the ground, the solution isn't to bill. The solution is to stop leaving them on the ground. Like there was a week where they were broken every other day. My reasoning is probably a-hole, because ultimately, at the end of the day, I am the one who broke them, and my dad sure thinks so. So, Reddit, Am I the a-hole? Should I suck it up and just get him the glasses? Edit. Hey, I appreciate all the responses, but please stop implying my dad's being malicious or our family dynamic is unhealthy. It's not. I know him. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. The ground is meant to be stepped on. If you put your things on the floor, in a place where it's hard to see even when people know that you have a habit of doing so, you are condemning your stuff to be stepped on. The biggest piece of evidence that Opie is not an a-hole is that his glasses have been broken 10 plus times by 3 plus different people. If it was just Opie once or twice, that's one thing, but the father really needs to get his stuff together in his case. Nope, not the a-hole. Nuclear option, get yourself a nice pair of thick sole house slippers. Then start scattering black Legos on the carpet. Maybe then he'll get the hint about how hard it is to see stuff on the carpet. Other less nuclear option, every time you enter the room, ask your dad if his glasses are on his face. If not, drop down on your knees and crawl across the ground looking for them. Once you find them, loudly proclaim, "Got it." Then hand them to him and tell him how lucky he is to have a great child like you who looks after him when he's careless. Not the a-hole. I don't care what color your carpeting is. You do not leave glasses on the ground. Your dad is refusing to take responsibility for his mistake, and that's his problem, not yours. Seriously, I get anxious leaving my glasses anywhere other than my face or their case. I can't imagine just casually leaving them on the floor. If someone doesn't step on them, one of my cats will sit on them. And now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my parents that while I appreciate my hand-me-downs, I would really like some new clothes for once? I'm 16 female, the youngest of 10, 36 female, 34 female, 31 male, 30 female, 29 female, 27 female, 24 male, 24 female, 23 male. My parents had me when they were in their late 40s, thinking it wouldn't happen, but whoops. My parents have been saving clothes for when my siblings started having kids. But since I happened, I got most of them. Every piece of clothing I've ever been given off my parents and most family members, since they have 4 plus kids each, Mom was one of 8 and Dad was one of 17, give me hand-me-downs too. The only thing that's ever bought new for me is underwear and shoes. I've not gotten brand new clothes in nearly 2 years now. I'm an awful lot smaller than all of my siblings and most of my family members, 4'9" and a UK size 4, so I normally fit in clothes they would have at 10 or 11, so I get them instead of clothes I'd actually like to wear. I was speaking to some of my siblings about this pre-lockdown, and they all said they never got as many hand-me-downs as I do. I just kind of assume since my parents are old, despite being quite well off, are tired of clothes shopping business, so they just give me old clothes instead. On Monday, my mom handed me a bag of clothes and said to go through it and see what I liked. I asked her if when retail shops are open again, could we go shopping for a few bits that I would really like and would be age-appropriate? She asked what was wrong with hand-me-downs, and I said that while I appreciate them, I would like new clothes that are just mine. She didn't say anything after that, but she looked kind of annoyed. She's been kind of quiet since then. I'm starting to think that maybe I came across as entitled or bratty. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Just wow. You're a teenager, of course you'd want the latest clothes. Clothes now aren't that pricey. Go to Zara and H&M. Honestly, just ask you can just online shop with her. What is wrong with your mother? If you want kids, be willing to pay for them in all ways. In my country, they love to open shops and restaurants of international brands and make them more luxurious. For this reason, this comment hurts my soul, because Zara is really expensive here. Not the a-hole. My god, did they not have TV for entertainment? If you said it like you wrote it, you didn't come off as entitled or bratty. Seriously, it sounded like a reasonable request that was respectfully worded. Not the a-hole. You're 16, and you deserve to dress like one. There's nothing wrong with hand-me-downs, but if they're really expecting you to wear children's clothes just because you fit them, they're being ridiculously stingy, and honestly kind of rude. They're ignoring the fact that you're aging/maturing even if you're not growing anymore. If your parents won't do it, then ask your older siblings or other relatives, as a birthday or holiday gift, to take you. Even thrift and second-hand stores, as a last resort in case they tell you new ones are too expensive, almost always have clothes for teenagers. Am I the a-hole for telling my birth siblings to buzz off and leave me alone, and that I don't care about their stupid freaking parents? I, 20s male, was adopted as an infant. I was actually found in an alley, and when my birth family didn't come forward to claim me and nobody knew who I was adopted. Thankfully, I was an infant at the time, so I didn't have a long foster care experience. I was placed in the alley without anything to keep me warm, in a low visibility area, and there were no signs that I was lovingly placed. It basically looked like I was thrown away like trash. I've seen some old newspaper clippings about it. The story was told to me gradually throughout my childhood. My parents were always open about my adoption. I never felt like an outsider. My family, my parents, siblings, and extended family were my family. Even though I was the only non-bio kid, I was loved, even treasured, and I had a great life. But the circumstance surrounding my adoption meant some things were unclear, with medical history being the biggest issue. I never really cared, but I got engaged a few months ago, and my fiancé and I want children. Seeing the health issues in my family made me realize I have no idea if I could pass anything on to my future kids. After thinking it over, I did a 23andMe genetic test, but I did it wrong and mistakenly made myself discoverable. I realized quickly after my results came in, but by then it was too late. 2 birth siblings found me. They're older. My birth parents had 5 kids before me. They all knew about me and wanted to get to know me. The birth siblings started off somewhat reasonable, but when I made it clear I didn't want to hear my birth parents' story, they flipped a switch. They said how much their parents regretted giving me away and how they would have come forward, but didn't want to get in trouble for abandoning me like they did. They believed I owed their parents and them the chance to tell their story and build a relationship. I stood my ground and blocked them, but they followed me to social media, insisting that we're family and that I should be kinder to them and their parents. They told me that it's not like I'm just a half-sibling. I'm the baby who was missing. They sent messages trying to make me feel bad for their parents, especially their mom. And it pissed me off. After almost 3 months of them finding ways around my blocking them, I finally told them to buzz off and leave me alone. I told them I don't care about their stupid freaking parents. I had to delete my account because they kept making random new accounts, and I couldn't block them fast enough in their outrage over what I said. They told me their parents didn't deserve that. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. You didn't deserve to be abandoned like garbage as an infant. There have been safe haven laws for decades. You owe no one anything. Based on the description of how he was abandoned, he was lucky he survived and was found. Send them all the newspaper clippings of a baby left to die in an alley. Did you at least get medical info out of them? I didn't get it from them, but the genetic testing I did gave me a decent picture of everything. I'm glad I didn't ask the birth siblings for direct medical history, because that would likely be used to try and bargain for what they want. How does that conversation even go? Sorry Mom and Dad tried to unalive you, but it would be really nice if you could help them feel less guilty about that. F all the way off. It was more like, we know our parents abandoned you, but there were good reasons. You'd feel bad for them if you knew those reasons. Please hear them out. Please be their son. Please make them happy. Let's be a family. Yay. Next story. Am I the a-hole for calling CPS on my family and asking to be removed from our house? My parents have 4 kids. There's me, 16 male, and I'm the oldest. And then I have 2 younger sisters, 13 and 10, and a younger brother, 12. Our dad drinks a lot. He's had issues with alcohol for as long as I can remember. He doesn't work, doesn't do anything around the house, never wants to talk to any of us, and that leaves it all on Mom. Except my mom puts a lot of it on me. For a long time I did it willingly, and I wanted to help keep us together. But I started to feel resentful in the last 2 years, and then I realized if I wanted a better life, I needed out, and I needed to stop things from staying the same. My siblings have no expectation to help. My mom said there can be too many people helping, and it needs to be just me. So I was making after-school snacks and getting dinner ready for when Mom got home. I was left in charge if my mom wasn't home for any reason. even if Dad was there, because we never knew when he'd just get up and go to the bar. I had to make sure homework was done before Mom got home, and I had to forge her signature on stuff, with Mom's permission, because she wanted to come home and relax after a long day at work. My mom left me in charge of paying the bills online too. She had a checklist for me, and once a month, I had to go through the list and pay them all off. If we didn't have enough, I needed to get my siblings and go to the bank and deposit more money in my parents' account. Sometimes that meant looking for Dad's wallet and taking money from him, and other times it meant taking from my minimal savings to use that. I have no savings left because of it. On weekends, I still got put in charge of feeding my siblings, sometimes my parents too. I found out my mom was eating out frequently on weekends while running errands, and that ticked me off because we struggled with money a lot, and we had more than I realized. She just used it to spoil herself. The other thing was she'd bring home snacks for my siblings, but wouldn't bring me anything. She was also giving them money behind my back and, again, nothing for me. Then my siblings wanted to do more stuff, and Mom slowly started putting the responsibility of walking them to those places on me. She had a car, but she'd tell me she needed a break and stuff. There were nights she'd go out with her friends too, and some nights she didn't even come home or got back at 5 a.m. But if I asked for permission to sleep at a friend's house or see a movie with my friend, she'd tell me we didn't have the money and she couldn't be without me. My siblings got to hang out with their friends if they wanted, but my mom always had excuses for why I couldn't. She started going out more frequently and sometimes with my dad. I tried talking to my mom, but she didn't care about giving me time off. All she'd talk about was how hard she worked her butt off for us. And she'd tell me I was young and didn't get stressed as much or need breaks like someone older. My grades started slipping this year. It was too much for me to keep up with, and Mom got an email about it, and she refused to speak to my guidance counselor about it. The guidance counselor set up a meeting. She didn't say anything to me. I was told by my guidance counselor in November about it. I asked Mom why, and she said the reality is, I might need to drop out anyway, so why would she waste her time? I sat on that for a few weeks, and then I spoke to my school about everything. My guidance counselor called CPS, and so did one of my teachers. But then I called and told them everything and talked about there not being enough food in the house because, at that point, there wasn't, and how we didn't even have money in our school lunch accounts. Someone from CPS came, and I begged them to take me. There were several visits before I was actually removed. My siblings weren't because Mom put money in their accounts after the initial CPS visit, and she explained that she had called their schools before and had allowed the account to overdraw, and she paid it off after a few weeks. CPS is still involved, but I'm staying with a family member. CPS is trying to reunite me, but I have said I don't want to go back. On top of all the stuff with my parents, my siblings have turned into really crappy people who don't care about me. Guess our parents taught them that, but I don't feel the need to save them anymore, or even care if they get put through what I was. At the start of the month, my mom and siblings figured out I was the one who called. Some of the details brought up finally connected in their heads, and they're mad at me. Mom said I was doing better than a lot of kids, and my actions came across as those of a spoiled brat. She told me the fact I asked to be removed spoke about what my character is and how easy I find it to abandon my family. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Good for you. You went to an adult and got out. Thanks. It's really daunting going to someone and saying I have a crappy home life and I'm being neglected, but I knew I needed to speak up or my life would never get better. I'd be dropping out and unable to do much with my future. What I'm about to say is not your fault or responsibility. I need you to understand that, okay? Your mother made you her co-parent. You are gone, and no one else in that house is responsible or knows how to do what you used to do. She's holding it together now, but it won't be long before she can't. Now that you contacted CPS, your mom and the other kids are on their radar, which hopefully means when things start slipping, CPS will catch it quicker than if you had just left without saying anything when you turned 18. Good luck. I wish you the best in life. Thanks for not putting that on me. I don't know if others might, but I know people can be weird about claiming the oldest should feel some sense of responsibility for their siblings. Most won't ever have to live it to know how crappy that is to expect. It's bad enough when your parent does that and expects even more from you. Not the a-hole, and I'm sorry for what happened, and it took so long for them to remove you. This stranger is proud of you for what you did to protect yourself. Do you work? Can you become an emancipated minor and stay with a family member, or petition for them to keep guardianship? Keep doing what is best for you, and we are here if you need advice or someone to affirm you did the right thing. I'm looking for a job now. I didn't get the chance to work when I lived with my family because of how much I needed to do outside of school. Emancipation isn't looking like a possibility for me. I'm going to say I want to stay with a family member, or even another if I need to, but I was told it won't be up to me. Next story. Am I the a-hole for laughing when my dad's wife's sister humiliated her and made her cry? My dad's wife's family came to our house for dinner on Saturday. His wife and her sister ended up fighting over me, 16 male, and my sister, 14 female. Her sister was calling my dad's wife delusional and mentioned that she's been married 3 times to 3 men who lost their wives and had kids. She said she was trying to live out her mommy fantasy that she can't have with biological kids, but she could never accept or see that none of her stepkids care about her and that she only left her last husband when one of his kids pushed her down the stairs. And she always stayed longer and pretended she was a mom. She said it's clear to everyone except for her that my sister and I don't want anything to do with her, and that she is holding on to a marriage where she'll be miserable when she realizes the 2 of us won't ever let her be our mom. Her sister also said the only difference between us and the old stepkids was the fact that we didn't do everything we could to make her life hell to get rid of her. But we looked repulsed whenever she tried to hug us or wanted to spend time with us. She told her to open her freaking eyes and get therapy. My dad's wife got upset and said it was so mean and asked why she was humiliating her by throwing all that stuff in her face about her ex-husbands, ex-stepkids, and not being able to have her own kids. It came up because my dad's wife was talking about my sister's birthday coming up in a week and how she wanted a mom and daughter shopping trip for the 2 of them. Her sister rolled her eyes, and that started them off. My dad's wife was really upset, but I laughed, and so did my sister. It was mostly because of how my dad's wife denied what her sister said and made it seem like we loved her and that she is a real mom. But the thing is, her sister is 100% right, and we don't see her as our mom or accept her as our family. Our dad loves her for real and has let her try to step all over mom's memory by trying to play mommy, inserting herself into our lives and making us celebrate her for Mother's Day and stuff. But we don't accept it, and we won't ever appreciate her or be glad she's here. If they divorce or dad dies, we won't even look at her again. I don't even care if she's doing it to try and make everyone happy. I hate that she won't accept no, and that when we tell her we don't want another mom, she does it anyway, because we need a mom, and crap like that. When my sister and I laughed, it made things worse. Her sister was like, "See?" And we were asked to speak up, and we said she's right. I said I didn't know all the stuff about before, but it was gross to try and replace dead moms because she couldn't have her own kids. My dad wasn't happy with us, and he ended up kicking his wife's sister out. Yesterday, he talked to us after he calmed down and said it was really mean to let our mom be treated like that. I told him she will never be our mom, and her sister was right that she's delusional for not seeing that we don't love or want her. He said we might feel like that, but laughing was cruel when she was so upset. Are we the a-holes? Now for the top comments. If your dad's wife has been married 3 times to 3 men who lost their wives with kids, she is delusional and her sister was right to warn you. She does not love your dad. She loves the idea of playing mother. Your dad is not helping either. He is enabling her dreams of being a mother. If I were you, I would be making plans to move out with your sister as soon as possible. It would not take much to get her completely unhinged. Not the a-hole. It is more cruel to constantly force 2 kids to accept a mother that they do not wish to have. Yep. Her sister also brought up the fact she's against dating men with kids but with exes, even if the exes are out of the kids' lives. She always goes for the guys with dead wives. It's so damn creepy. Your dad's wife sure knows how to pick them, huh? Flips to the obituaries. I got the full visual of a lady wearing funeral garb, licking thumb, flipping through a newspaper, furiously circling obits with a red pen and look of determination. Survived by 5 kids? I'm on my way. Not the a-hole. I wish parents read all these stories and learn not to impose mothers/fathers on grieving children. We all should try to be a little kinder with each other and respect the memory of the person that is gone. I wish my dad could have found someone who was okay with being a stepmom or just a dad's wife instead of a mom. He maybe wanted more, but I don't get why. He was married to mom before she died. It confuses me why he'd want to replace her like that. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not letting my mom be around my baby because she wants to have her affair partner around my baby? I, 28 female, am having my first baby next month after years of infertility and treatment. Everyone is excited, and we are extremely happy waiting for the baby. I think my own mother is the happiest of all. However, I've never gotten along with her. I have a lot of trauma from my childhood with her, which I no longer resent but still remember. She did what she could with what she had. The issue right now is that she's been in a toxic relationship with my stepdad, whom she has been with for 25 years. He cheats on her and she refuses to leave him. Whatever, it's her life. But she has started to do the same, I guess, and has tried to involve me. She started talking to a guy who is supposedly cousins with my biological dad. My bio dad says he doesn't know him. The guy she's seeing asks too much about me, says he wants to meet me because we are supposedly family, and just inquires about me in a way that makes me uncomfortable. My mom has tried to make me talk to him and meet him. I've refused because I think she should leave my stepdad first. I've also asked her several times to stop talking to me about him. I don't care to know about their relationship, what he does, or anything else about him. She told me I was crazy and that the guy had done nothing to me. Sure, he hasn't, but I don't like him. Despite knowing my feelings, she still brings him up. Their relationship is complicated, and sometimes I feel like she's making up in her mind that he's interested in her romantically, which, whatever, not my life. The issue is that one day, she casually mentioned that once the baby is here, this guy would be spending time with my baby, holding her, and just being around her. This made me extremely angry. For whatever reason, I do not like this guy. There's something about him that makes me not want him near my child. I told her no and reminded her of our previous conversations, where I asked her to stop involving me. Once again, she got angry. I talked to my partner and told him I didn't want her near my baby. I asked her at the beginning of my pregnancy to keep my pregnancy a secret because I was scared something would happen and only wanted to tell a few people. She told him everything about my life. She called again, and during our conversation, since my due date is approaching, I told her she was not allowed to take pictures of my baby because I didn't want that guy to receive any photos from her. That didn't go well, as she told me I was crazy and needed mental help. This is my first child. After so many years of prayers and procedures, I finally get to be a mom. Maybe I am being paranoid, but I'd like to hear your thoughts. Am I the a-hole if I don't let her near my daughter? Not the a-hole, but isn't it time to go no contact with her? Or even force her hand by informing stepdad of her affair? I've thought about telling him, but I don't want to risk her safety. I'm not sure how he'd react, and some people don't react well. You know him, stepdad, best. If you suspect violence from him, perhaps don't inform him. Curious though, she's with a guy capable of DV and willingly stays with him? However, go no contact with her and focus on you and your baby. I moved out so long ago, and back then I never saw him hit her or anything. But apparently they fight all the time now, and both have shown aggression. She said he bought a gun a few months ago, but I am not sure. I don't believe anything she says, and if she has stayed after 6 years of infidelity where stepdad doesn't come home for 3 days straight, I believe she could possibly stay if he is violent, but it's not something I know for sure.
First story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my cousin what our family were saying about his wife and causing him to cut everyone off financially? My uncle had a kid from an affair who he abandoned to the system. My grandmother found out when he was 12 and took him in. This was a huge scandal, not only our family, but also our social circle, because everyone is all about appearances and protecting the family legacy. If I'm being honest, my family weren't very nice about my cousin. I remember when he first came to live with our grandparents, my own mother told me not to socialize with him too much in front of outsiders so he doesn't ruin my reputation. I was 8. When he graduated, the family didn't want him involved in the family business because of his parentage and also because he was pretty closed off and was only close to our grandparents and no one else in the family. So our grandfather gave him some money to start something of his own. The family business hasn't been doing well for a long time, but my cousin is doing better than ever. Despite everything, he's been financially helping all of us for a few years now. Recently, our grandparents told everyone he was married and expecting a baby. This was a huge shock to the family. Our grandfather admitted he suspects our cousin got the woman pregnant by mistake and chose to do the right thing based on a few conversations he had with him before he announced his marriage. My family immediately cyber-talked his wife and they said some awful things about her, and everyone was complaining that he could have done so much better. My dad was even encouraging everyone to make things hell for her so she leaves. I told my cousin what they said. I'd like to say I did it for selfless reasons, but I didn't. He's paying for my tuition after my parents refused to help since I dropped out the first time. And based on his personality, I doubt he's going to be very forgiving once they started this crusade against his pregnant wife. Well, he cut everyone off except me and our grandparents. He never told anyone it was me, but since everyone is floundering trying to figure out what they're going to do now and I'm not, it didn't take much for them to figure out I was the snitch. Now, my family are angry at me and calling me all sorts of names. So, am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. They never accepted him as a family member. If they never accepted him, why do they deserve his help? They don't. They were mooching off him and only wanted his money. They didn't care about treating him like family. You were right to let him know exactly how they felt about him and his pregnant wife. You seem to actually care and accept him as family, so it's not selfish to let him know. He may be helping you with college, but you care and treat him well. You have accepted him as family. Good job. Not the a-hole. The biggest and best indicator that you're not the a-hole is precisely because what you said below. Now, my family are angry at me and calling me all sorts of names. Your family is messed up, so what they think is wrong is most certainly what's right and decent. Not the a-hole. Stick with the grandparents who've proven they'll stand by their grandchildren, like they did with their cousin. And your cousin who has done things out of the kindness of his heart, but these people have been nothing but awful. Get the hell out of your parents' sphere of influence as soon as you can. Not the a-hole. Never piss off the one holding purse strings. Even if your motive were less than pure, you did the right thing to let him know what they say behind his back. Another saying I heard was, never bite the hand that feeds you. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for forcing my brother-in-law to hold my baby, his nephew, just for a bit while I was folding laundry and traumatizing my brother-in-law? I honestly didn't know the reason why he was so reluctant. This happened a few days ago. So, while I, 25 female, was around 6 months pregnant, my husband, 25 male, was unfortunately furloughed from his job, so we moved into his brother's, 38 male, house. His brother's fairly well off, and I'm not exactly sure what he does for a living, but he's mostly just in his office from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., so I don't really interact with him. I do appreciate that he let us move in while we were in a tight spot. When we moved in, he made it a hard rule that I will have nothing to do with the baby, so don't expect anything from me. But otherwise, y'all can have free reign of the house. That was 5 months ago. Brother-in-law actually doesn't really interact with any of his nieces or nephews. Sister-in-law's kids, 4 of them all under 10, as my husband has told me. Though he does send them gifts for birthdays and stuff, but definitely not an involved uncle. Skip to now, we have a beautiful baby boy. And brother-in-law stayed true to his words of not wanting anything to do with his nephew, and he just mostly stays in his office. My husband thankfully landed a job in the same field as his last job about a week ago. And even better, he's able to work from home. So we're set to move when we can save up a little more, and he was working when everything went down. Yesterday, while I was folding laundry, my son was getting fuzzy and wanted to be held. And at that moment, my brother-in-law came out of his office to grab something. I asked him if he could just quickly hold his nephew while I finished up folding laundry. Casually just says, "Nah, I'm good," and started to walk away. I admit I got really freaking mad at that point. Like he can't even help for a minute while I finish up folding laundry? So I picked up my son and walked over to brother-in-law and placed him in his hands and said, "Just help out. It's just a baby. It won't kill you or anything." My yelling upset my son, so he started crying. He handed me back my child and very coldly says, "I told you, I'm good." And then he quickly retreated to his office. I was left really confused. And then my husband came out of the room he was working in to see what all the commotion was about. I explained what happened, and he just starts freaking out and said I shouldn't have done that. And he goes off to talk to his brother. My husband is now demanding I apologize to brother-in-law and explained something no one has ever told me. Apparently, brother-in-law had a wife 10 years ago who passed during childbirth, and the child later passed due to other complications, and brother-in-law never really got over it. My heart sank. I asked why I was never told this, and all he said is, "My brother's a very private guy, and it wasn't any of your business knowing his past. Please just apologize to him." But I wasn't able to. He has yet to come out of his office or room, and my husband just leaves food at brother-in-law's door. So I want some outside perspective. Am I the a-hole for forcing my brother-in-law to hold his nephew but accidentally opened a pretty bad scar? Now for the top comments. Laughing my butt off. OP. Is it homeless because brother-in-law was being kind and gracious? Brother-in-law. I just have one boundary. Keep your baby away from me. OP. Gets pissy and forces brother-in-law to hold the baby. Husband. You should apologize for breaking boundaries and picking fights with a man who is keeping a roof over our heads. OP. Shocked Pikachu face. Yeah, you're the a-hole. Not everyone feels comfortable with kids. You already got a freaking house from the guy. You owe him, not the other way around. This is some Greek mythology gourmet stuff. Like, did OP never read legends and myths? When a dude does something benevolent with a strange yet non-harmful boundary, you keep that boundary. No means no. You're the a-hole. You're the a-hole. He said no. No means no. Yes, you're a giant a-hole for bullying a grown man into doing what you wanted. It doesn't even matter why I didn't want to hold your baby, but it does make it that much worse. You owe him a very sincere apology. They literally live in the guy's house, but still thinks it's okay to cross the one boundary he had. You're the a-hole. No means no. He does not mean no, but this one time I'll make an exception, lols. You don't need to know the reason why. You just needed to respect his one house rule. He was kind enough to let you stay there while you and your hubby got back on your feet, and he only had one thing he asked of you, and you still couldn't follow through with that. The next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my future sister-in-law that I won't be attending her child-free wedding, causing a lot of my other family members to drop out as well? My future sister-in-law is marrying my brother next summer, and they are planning to have a child-free wedding. I have about 3 other sisters and we all have kids, as do most of my cousins at this point. Our family is kinda spread out over the country, and my brother/sister-in-law's wedding is out of the state for most of us. Once I found out they wanted to make it child-free, I began to lose interest in going to the wedding. I don't want to be away from my kids for a couple of days, and it is just a hassle to find them living arrangements for when my husband and I are gone, especially since most of our adult family members will be at the wedding. We'd have to leave the kids with some friends. However, I get that it is her wedding and her decision, so I just declined to go, stating that I don't want to leave my kids alone without any family to watch them. After I dropped out, my other sisters got the courage to drop out as well, as they also have toddlers they didn't want to leave behind for a couple of days. Then, my cousins began declining to come as well. Now, it has become a huge deal in the family and caused a lot of drama. My brother has called me and yelled at me, saying that I was the one who caused all the problems. I was firm when I told him I wasn't going to his wedding unless I could bring my kids, and that all our sisters/cousins pretty much felt the same way. My parents, who are paying for half of their wedding, are also pissed that so many family members on our side aren't coming. They were already somewhat against the idea of a child-free wedding in the first place, and have now started pressuring sister-in-law to not make it child-free.
My sister-in-law refuses to meet in the middle and says the wedding will remain child-free, but she's also mad at all of us for not coming. She also still expects my parents to help pay for it, which I doubt they'll do at this point. Lol. I'm fine with her having a child-free wedding. I just don't want to be part of it if it means being away from my kids for days. Am I the a-hole? Edit. People keep asking why I'm mostly talking about my sister-in-law and not my brother in the post. I know for a fact my brother was okay with having kids at the wedding. It's the norm in our family, and he loves his nieces/nephews. It's my sister-in-law who wants this to be a child-free thing against the wishes of like 95% of our family and still have my parents foot the bill. My brother's just supporting her to make her happy. Edit. She has an entire 4-day itinerary planned with like 6 events that she expects to all be child-free. Are all of us with toddlers and kids supposed to swing back and forth from hiding our kids in hotels with random sitters to all the wedding activities just to keep my psycho sister-in-law happy? And then pay for it because she sure as hell won't, since our kids are our problems, as she stated to my face. You're the a-hole because you don't seem to know what meet in the middle means. She wants her wedding to be child-free. You want her wedding to not be child-free. You think she won't meet in the middle because she's not changing to what you want. It's super common to have group babysitting at the hotel. All your siblings/cousins can pool resources and get a few people to stay a few hours at the hotel and watch the kids. Maybe even have your parents pay for it as part of the wedding fees. If you don't want to go, don't go. But it doesn't seem like you're trying to actually work something out. Yeah, I don't get how child-free wedding translates into I'd have to leave the kids at home. And if OP is going to complain about spending money to bring kids to the location, they'd have to spend that money if the kids were invited. There's really barely any difference. Everyone brings their kids. A couple of cousins or family friends take turns with childcare while the rest go to the wedding. Trust me, as a kid, I hated having to go to weddings. Hanging out at a hotel pool would be so much more appealing to me. Not the a-hole. People are entitled to a child-free wedding, but they also have to understand that it's not going to be realistic for most people to leave their kids for days, especially young ones. This should have been an anticipated consequence of a child-free wedding. Your sister-in-law shouldn't have to change her child-free wedding, but she also doesn't get to be mad at out-of-state parents for not coming. I can't believe I had to scroll so far to find this comment. An invitation isn't a summon. If not taking your young children isn't a viable option, then you're fully allowed to decline. Not the a-hole. You're the a-hole. First of all, you're not fine with it, so stop saying you are. You're just trying to make yourself feel better. Second, you've now orchestrated a full-on boycott of her wedding, whether intended or not, and you seem to think it's funny. That's cruel. I don't think this is about the kids. I think you just don't like her and won't admit it because it makes you look bad. If you love your brother, you would find a way to be there, period. I have a hard time believing that there's no possible way you can group the kids together with a babysitter for a few hours. Of course you can, but you don't want to. I'd be crushed if I were her, receiving this welcome into the family. Also, she's blaming only her sister-in-law, as if her brother has nothing to do with it. The last story is titled, Am I the a-hole for kicking my sister out after she didn't do what she said she would? I, 21 female, had a baby 8 days ago via scheduled cesarean. Father isn't around, and I knew he wouldn't be since day one. My sister, 29, we'll call her Annie, fake name, is recently divorced and suffers with infertility. Every time there's a new baby in the family, she offers to help out. Annie asked if she could stay with me for a few weeks after the baby is born and for the few days before to help out. I said yes, knowing I'd need the help. The problems started from when we came home. Annie takes her, like literally does everything baby-related, except for nappy changes. She creates mess, which I end up having to clean up everything, while trying to cook for myself/order food, and it has to be done to Annie's preference too if I'm ordering. 5 days ago, I started recording the amount of time I spent with my baby versus what Annie did. Over the last 5 days, I spent a total of 8 hours with my baby, Annie nearly all the rest of the time. I tried asking her to step back a bit and help out with chores like she said she would, but she got defensive. Things got on my last nerve today around an hour ago, realizing she hadn't actually given me back my child all day except once to change her.
I'm not really sure what got into me, but I lost my cool. I told her to get out and not come back until she can learn to respect that this is not her baby, and stop taking over everything except the gross bits. My mom called me, saying it was a nail move since Annie just wants a baby of her own. And I said that I don't care. I have barely got to see my own child. Am I the a-hole? Edited to Ed, said an outburst was caused by her practically refusing to give me my baby. Now for the top comments. My mom called me, saying it was an a-hole move since Annie just wants a baby of her own. But this baby is not available. It's not hers. It's yours and yours only. If she wants one so badly, she should look into adoption. Absolutely not the a-hole. Exactly, not the a-hole. It is important for you to bond with your baby, not only her. She needed to realize that she couldn't push you around and literally hog your baby. Not the a-hole at all. Tell your mom that what your sister wants is not your problem. You want your baby. Pete's sake. Not the a-hole. It sounds like your sister needs some therapy to deal with her infertility. Or just adopt. First story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my dad that he doesn't get to be grandfather after he bailed on me? Mom and Dad got married when she was pregnant with my older brother, and a couple years later, they had me. When I was 12 and my brother was 15, we found out that while my brother was Dad's biological child, I was not. Dad found this out around the same time as we did. Dad then immediately began the divorce process and told my brother that if he wanted to continue a relationship with him, he could, but I wasn't allowed. I did message Dad until he blocked me. My brother brought me to Dad's new place one time and Dad slammed the door when he saw me. Dad got back in touch when I was 16 and we talked. The talk didn't go well. He was insulting me, insulting to Mom, and unsympathetic to my point of view, which was basically that Mom messed up, but I didn't deserve to have the only father I'd ever known slam the door in my face. I didn't see him until 5 years later, when I was 21, and he showed up at my university graduation. I let him stay because my brother promised to keep him in check. He congratulated me and gave me a necklace he said he'd meant to give me on my 18th. That was his mother's. Dad's mom, my nan, passed away when I was 8, long before we found out, and we had a great relationship. So I accepted the necklace as a reminder of her, not of him. I'm now 23, and I've just had a baby. A boy. I posted a selfie back in March that showed I was pregnant, and a few people sent me baby things. I didn't ask for it. One thing that arrived was a blanket with a card congratulating me, and the card said, "Love Dad." He didn't reach out to me after this. I've been home from the hospital for a few months now, and I decided now was the time to post a birth announcement. Nothing major and no pictures, just a quick, "Pleased to report that baby was born and date with no issues, and we're both home safe and sound." Dad has now messaged me, saying he was upset that I didn't reach out to him personally to let him know he had a grandson. I responded that he doesn't have a grandson, because he doesn't have a daughter. He said that I'm his daughter, and I responded, "Until you walk out on us both. You know this kid isn't related to you either, right?" He then told me that he couldn't believe that I was acting so childish and cruel, and said that this has been hard for him too, and I should develop some empathy for him before hanging up. I vented to my brother about it, and he sided with Dad. He said I'm being unnecessarily harsh, especially with my final comment, and that it was hard for Dad too, and I need to get over myself, stop being petty, and pull my head out of my behind before hanging up. I'm not making any decisions off the consensus here, but I cannot see Dad's side here, and I have no one to talk to except for a 3-month-old, so if anyone can give me a little more perspective, I'd appreciate it. Am I the a-hole? Edit. Can we leave my mother out of this, please? Her and Dad's drama is only tangential to the actual conflict between me and Dad. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Your dad needs to first acknowledge the damage it caused to 12 to 21-year-old you. Especially that 12-year-old little girl. My heart breaks. If he cannot acknowledge that, he doesn't begin to deserve your forgiveness. Exactly. Not the a-hole. You were still a child. It was fine for your brother because he didn't disown him. Your brother has no right to say stuff like that to you when he had a completely different experience. He lost the privilege of being a granddad when he shut the door in your face. Not the a-hole. In order for him to make amends,
He would have to own up to what he did to a child, offer an apology, and if you accept it, then maybe he could try and have a grandfatherly place in the child's life. Your brother got to be the golden child, and you were scapegoated. He has no points of reference on how you feel, and his opinion is baseless. You're protecting your child from going through the same hurt you did. Good on you, OP. Not the a-hole. I feel like the brother and father have probably had long conversations about this, but have never included OP in them and just decided to not acknowledge any wrongdoing on the father's part. How childish. Not the a-hole. This guy sucks, and you are absolutely valid not letting him in your life. He wants the fun parts of having a grandchild without having to admit he did anything wrong in the past. Screw him, and congrats on your baby. Not the a-hole. Your dad left you when you were 12. Up until then, he was your dad. I know it must have hurt him to know your mom cheated on him, but none of that is your fault or responsibility. He gave up any rights to you or your family when he left. You have every right to lay the boundaries that you need to be happy. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for being done with my daughters? I am a 52-year-old male. I got my ex-wife Maggie pregnant when we were in our last year of college. We were both from conservative families, so we got married. From our marriage, I gained 2 daughters, Jenny, age 30, and Cassie, age 27. My wife and I were not a great couple. We married way too young and grew apart. She became more religious as we got older, and I became less religious. She also was always angry at me for something or the other. My political beliefs shifted to be more liberal, and my wife became more conservative. We did our best to not fight in front of the kids, but our arguments were loud and could be heard through the walls. 12 years ago, I found out Maggie was having an affair. Jenny was 17 and going to college soon, while Cassie was still in high school. Maggie's family had set up a trust fund for the girls' education, and Maggie and I kept separate finances, so the money part of the divorce was easy. Custody of Cassie was a fight, and my ex-wife claimed I was abusive. Because our fights were noisy, the girls believed her, and over the next year, they cut me off. My attorney told me that because of the girls' ages, the courts wouldn't force visitation. I kept the lines of communication open, but they cut me out of their lives. I was heartbroken. I sank into a depression. Over time, I rationalized that the girls were adults, and that I had done my duty to them. My sister has a relationship with them, and through her, I have learned that both of them got married and that Jessica had 2 children. I've heard that their relationship is strained with their mother as she hated their husbands and refused to attend Cassie's wedding. The girls both want to try to reconcile with me. I think that they've realized that I wasn't the villain that my ex-wife painted me to be. I'm done though. Losing them was incredibly painful. I hurt for a long time, and missing their weddings and the birth of my grandchild. Since my divorce, I have refused to get too close to anyone new, and I don't want to rely on anyone. I'm not on social media, and I screen my calls on my personal phone. The girls have tried to call, but I've blocked their numbers. I use email strictly for professional reasons, and I don't do Facebook. My sister is giving me a hard time for not wanting to reconnect because she says that the girls were kids and didn't know what my ex was like. I don't think I have it in me to let anyone in again. Now for the top comments. No a-holes here. I don't have it in me to call you an a-hole. You are deeply hurt, and as a result, are extremely leery and cautious of forming new relationships. The fact that after this much time, you won't form new relationships, though, is concerning. This isn't a healthy attitude, and you really need to consider therapy. As for your girls, I do agree with your sister. They were kids and didn't understand the ramifications of their actions, particularly the 14-year-old, and didn't truly know what was going on. They likely felt forced to choose sides, and sadly, they chose wrong. But that's not their fault either. They're as much victims of your ex as you are. That being said, barring truly horrific actions, you don't get to be done with your children. That's not how parenting works. And your girls haven't done anything truly horrific. You're blaming them for your ex's actions. I do think you should try to re-establish a relationship with your girls. I would go slowly. More importantly though, I think you need to get some help to deal with what has happened and how it has affected you and your ability to create relationships. I agree that no a-holes here. But one thing, you say that it isn't possible to be done with your children. which is true, but didn't his daughters already decide to be done with Opie over some lies? Isn't that the whole reason Opie isn't being receptive now, is because they've been done with him? And as far as he's concerned, they've made their decision and they don't get to change their minds? No a-holes here, but I think you're cutting off your nose to spite your face. You're choosing at the stage to hold on to hurt feelings, understandably hurt, instead of embracing what might be a wonderful relationship with your daughters and grandchildren. Don't do this to yourself. Your girls were teenagers when this all went down, and were probably confused and hurting. You now have the chance to start again and get to know the adults that they have become. No a-holes here, and I absolutely agree that now you have a chance to rebuild your relationship with the girls who probably realized their mistakes and want to have you in their adult life. I was estranged from my dad for 20 years. He was the first to reach out, and we started our relationship up like we never had been apart. 5 years later, he died. What I wouldn't give to have those 20 years he and I wasted back. Sorry to hear this. Glad you at least got a little time with him before he passed. Now for the last story. Biological mother of my adopted baby wants back into her and our lives. Backstory. A little over a year ago, my best friend passed away after being in a car accident. Shortly after his passing, we discovered that the woman he was casually-ish seeing was pregnant. The woman, being at the start of her career and decently young, had no interest/desire to be a parent. Given the fact that she didn't believe in termination, her words not mine, adoption was the only option. I understood and respected that, until I discovered that she had no desire to put any effort towards finding a suitable family. She was planning on just handing her over to the system and let them figure it out. I couldn't in good conscience allow an innocent baby be handed over to a horrible system, especially not the baby my best friend dreamt about having for as long as I can remember. All he wanted was to be a dad. So I decided to foster the baby and find a suitable adoptive family myself. Towards the end of her pregnancy, at this point the paperwork was drafted but not signed, the biological mother changed her mind and decided that she would keep the baby. I respected this decision and said that given the fact that her dad, my best friend, couldn't be around, I would gladly step up and help where needed. Fast forward to the baby being born, she was born healthy. Everything was great. On day 4, the biological mother called me asking if I could mind the baby for a couple of hours so she could catch up on some sleep. Having had kids myself, I understood that she was having a rough time, and happily obliged. She left the little girl at my house with enough formula for 1 bottle and roughly 3 diapers, and a couple of hours turned into a couple of days. I was relentless in trying to reach her, but no one knew where she was, so eventually I got police involved. They tracked her down, at which point she agreed to sign her daughter over to me. After a couple of weeks, I realized that I could never hand this little girl over to another family, and graduated from foster mom to adopted mom. After a hassle with judges, lawyers, social services, and a notary, she was officially my daughter. Very recently, the biological mother contacted me, asking me to be involved in my daughter's life on a regular basis. Now, I'm unsure on what to do. Given how she acted during her pregnancy, not caring about where she ended up, and how she acted abandoning her like that, I don't believe she would be the most stable person in her life, let alone be a positive addition. That leaves me to incline to decline this request. I am conflicted, and this is why. Who am I to refuse a biological mother access to her child? Would I be harming my daughter by declining her biomom access? Before adopting, I told myself that when my daughter is old enough to want to meet her biomom and decide she wants to do so, I would do anything in my power to make that happen. But it's not like I can discuss this with my daughter right now. But above is directly countered by the fact that I am, in every way but the biological way, her mother. My daughter isn't lacking or wanting for a family. She has one. I am also very doubtful of the fact that her biomom is here to stay or will add to her life in any way. When I ask her as to why she's contacting me now, almost a year later, she said because it's my kid and I get to decide whatever I want whenever I want. On top of that, she threatened to have the adoption annulled if I didn't oblige. Obviously, legally speaking, she doesn't have a leg to stand on. So, do I allow her biological mom regular visitation so they can bond as the baby grows up, assuming the biomom keeps showing up, or do I stick to my original plan and let my daughter decide on when/how/if she wants to meet her biological mother when she is ready? Personally, I would rather ban this woman from our lives, but this is all about what is best for my baby. So how do I do right by my daughter? Edit. I feel like I should add that an attorney has been contacted and has assured me that she doesn't have a leg to stand on, that everything is up to my discretion, and short of me being mistreating/neglecting, nothing can change that. Edit 2. I clarified the steps that were taken to officially adopt my daughter a little as it was causing confusion. No, you absolutely do not let her near that kid. Even under normal circumstances, it would be questionable. But she's threatening you and telling you that she will exercise power that she doesn't even have. You need to show her that you are in complete control of this situation, and that any contact she has with the child will be because you are willing to allow it. Until she understands the reality of who is in charge here, she gets nothing. And under no circumstances should you feel obligated to be cordial with her. Those are some really good points. Thank you. I do feel the need to add that I wouldn't ever let any potential visits happen unsupervised. Thank you for responding. I think you have very valid concerns about the stability this woman has in her life right now. She clearly doesn't know what she wants in regards to the pregnancy and birthed child. I think it's the right choice to not let her into your lives at this moment. However, I would be very open with your child about everything as she's growing up. Make sure she knows it's always her decision if/when she would like to meet her, once she is old enough to have an opinion on it. That is, I wouldn't wait until she is a teen to have the talk, but a literal baby cannot make any decisions. It's very important to me she knows all about what a great man her father was. So growing up, she'll hear all about how she ended up being a part of my family, in age-appropriate terms obviously. Don't do it. She's flaked on your daughter already. She's shown who she is. Believe her. Your daughter doesn't need to wonder why her mom bounces in and out of her life. Wait till she's 18. Oh, I am her mom. She is just a... That is a very good point, and thank you for your advice. I appreciate it.